I have a confession maybe. This episode, I basically reverse engineered this episode because obviously you're coming up for the hacks episode, and I was like, I feel like to be a disservice to the audience and to you if you don't get to talk about Severance. So I was like, how do I get Chris to talk about Severance? And then this idea came up. I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm gonna
All right.
get her. I was like, if I mention Emmys, I'm pretty sure she's just gonna talk about Severance. I was like, that could be a way to talk about Severance without telling you we're talking about Severance. And
yeah.
spoiler alert, you didn't disappoint.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just, if I could choose all the drama categories, it would just be them. Except for like one.
Before we start, I'm gonna just put you on the spot. We're just talking about this just now before we started. Do you want to give the audience like 2 reasons why they should be watching The Gilded Age?
Oh, we could, yeah. I don't know. It's just like, I mean, supporting the Broadway community, which we love. Miss Audra McDonald, she just went through a time with Patti LuPone. And yeah,
That
it's just like
references for like 5 people. 5 people know what happened between Audra and Patti LuPone.
Oh, they gotta get on it. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's just like such low stakes. It's so fun, right? Like
It is so fun.
The most low stakes fun. Like we were all like going crazy because some soup was going to get dropped on someone's head, maybe. And then fabulous costumes.
You see, that's great. That's better than I just said Carrie Coon and Kristen Baranski. That's all I'd have said. So yours is a lot more detailed and good. I mean, also, I guess if you watch Downton Abbey and you love Downton Abbey, just go watch Gilded Age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, ready to talk about Emmys?
All right, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Hello and welcome back to the Popcorn for Dinner podcast. Today we've got a fun and heavily nerdy episode lined up for you guys. Emmy voting is currently underway and the nominees will be announced in the middle of July. So we're going to throw out some wishes. We're just going to throw out some wishes in the air, hopefully that the Emmys voters are listening and they go vote for this episode. So joining me to do all of that, guys, it's an honor to be nominated alongside her. It's Chris.
Hello. I'm so happy to be back.
Welcome back. Welcome back with great flowers. I've heard only great things about your appearance on Hacks, about your Hannah Einbinder impersonation. So I just feel like maybe you should take that on the road, create a set around that. What do you think?
Oh my gosh. I think you'll be the only person in the audience, but I'll do it just for you.
Hacks? You do it for one person. You pick one person in your list and you do it for them. So I could be your Ava. Speaking of hacks, like we just mentioned, Chris was here a few weeks ago to talk about hacks with Lolade and I. Please listen to that. We went through the season. We gave our awards. We talked about Jimmy and Kayla. We talked about Dance Mom. So please check out that on the feed. We're about to go on a summer break, hopefully. We'll see that's true when it actually happens. But if you're new to the podcast, you can listen to our Last of Us Season 2 coverage. We have week by week, episode by episode discussions on The Last of Us Season 2. Yellow Jackets, The White Lotus, Invincible, something else I can't remember, but I'm sure we talked about it as well. Severance, obviously. And then we also have in the last few weeks episodes discussing entire seasons of The Studio and Your Friends and Neighbors. Also, last week, the great William Goldman joined me to talk about some other shows from the first of the year that you might have known about. Mainly talk about Poker Face. That's what we just want to talk about Poker Face. And then we also gave our hype meter on the summer movie season. If you're new to the podcast, please rate and review. Please follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. All of that stuff. I am now done with begging. Let's go to the real reason we're here. So, we're going to be sharing our nominations and maybe our winners, just things that we hope the Emmy voters are listening, things that we hope, this person, this show, this writer, this director deserves to be nominated for what they did. We're not really going to be saying Jean Smart needs to get an Emmy nomination because she will get an Emmy nomination and she'll probably win, deservedly so. So we're going for people that have been overlooked consistently and hopefully are not this year. We're going to group these into kind of shows and it will make sense as we go along. Um, since you are here for hacks, we just start with hacks. What are your prayers? What are your wishes for the hacks Emmys campaign?
Yeah, well, I really want Hacks to take Best Comedy Series again. I think there was a bit of a sense last year that it maybe got Best Comedy Series like by the skin of its teeth. It was obviously like very close between Hacks and The Bear.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to like repeat its win and sort of have its big year and show that it's a comedy that is here to stay. Um, I think down the line from that, which we'll talk about, but I think we want Hannah Einbinder to finally get that Emmy. I really thought it was going to happen for seasons 3. I was kind of shocked when it didn't happen. Like, once she lost, I thought that was it for the
Mm-hmm.
show. And then the show won. And it was just sort of a scenario I didn't imagine would happen at first. Like, I kind of thought Hannah and the series would go hand in hand. So I think she's like very long overdue. Um, and I would like Meg Stalter to finally get her nomination because she has never been nominated before.
So
And yeah.
that's the tricky thing. I mean, look, this is our prayers episodes. We're not really going by any rules. But then what you just said is 2 supporting actress nominations for hacks. I mean, I like the fact that we're starting off strong in terms of like these are real prayers. These are not like half-assed wishes. We're saying studio, the bear, wait outside. We want 2 supporting nominations for hacks. Should we talk about the Hannah loss last year? Because I too was like, this is it. Like she finally wins after season 3. The way season 3 ended, she has to win this. And last year, Lisa Colonzayas won. I hope it's Lisa. I'm not sure if it's Lisa or Liza. I apologize if I mispronounced that.
I think
She won.
Liza, but
Liza? Let's go with
I think
Liza. So
so.
Liza Colonzayas won for the bear. Now, here's the thing. We discussed this before, which I don't think Emmys voters know what they're voting for. Because last year they were meant to be voting for season 2 of The Bear, but quite obviously they were voting for season 3 because they were
Mhm.
voting for Liza's episode that Ayo directed, which is a great episode, which I do think maybe you could say should be winning this year. But I think considering the fact that she didn't have that kind of she was good obviously, but she didn't have the stand-up performance in season 2 that deserved an Emmy win over Hannah Einbinder. So hopefully now that they've given her the Emmy win for season 2, but was really for season 3, hopefully this
Mhm.
year Hannah gets to win because I do think she deserved it last season, and obviously she's good again this season. So hopefully she wins it this season. I do agree with your other Hacks picks. I think Hacks is one of those things that it feels like an underdog because the Bear has consistently won a lot,
Mhm.
but Hacks has never gone empty-handed. Like I think they've won writing, they've won directing. Obviously, Gene Smart has won like maybe 2 or 3,
Yeah,
and
3
now obviously,
times.
yeah, and obviously now they've won Best Show. So they've always kind of got their awards, but obviously the Bear being the Bear always seemed like um it was the runaway favorite. I'm not gonna because I think that's a whole other episode if you and I just start discussing the Bear and voter fraud and category fraud. Um,
Yeah, I think after the Emmys gave Hacks Best Comedy, it
mhm,
seemed like all of the winter awards just like followed suit. It felt like all of a sudden they had permission to move off of the Bear
mhm,
and vote for something like Hacks. So then right after that, Hacks kind of swept the Golden Globes, the Critics' Choice. Hannah actually won at Critics' Choice, which was exciting. I think that was kind of her first like bigger televised award. And then Jean won at SAG again. So they really did just move off of the Bear after that. Um, I get a little worried for Hannah because she still has struggled with making SAG. So you have to kind of hope that there's enough actor support amongst the group that is voting in the TV Academy branch because obviously she still hasn't made it in recent years with like the larger
mhm.
like acting guild members. Um but we'll see what happens. I think we'll see what happens in terms of Hannah. I think for the series, I think they're kind of off of the Bear and I think this is much more of a race between Hacks and the studio. I think that's actually more what it's going to come down to this year, in my opinion.
I agree. I tweeted a few weeks ago because obviously you and I know that Demetri voted for season 3 of The Bear, which was a lot more divisive than the first 2 seasons. I don't think voters know that, but unless season 4 comes out, by the time I'm recording this hasn't come out yet, and it's like lights out. It's like, for me, The Bear is one of my favorite shows of the last few years. So it's like season 2 levels. I do think there's a chance that I think this year with the studio and hacks, and I think depending on the rehearsal entered the zeitgeist. I don't know how it was received among the voting body, but like it was, people were talking about it, especially with the finale, people were talking about it. So I think there's a bigger chance this year for like the comedies thing to be a bit more split. So I do think like, unless The Bear gets unanimous, like this is the best thing of the year, I do think you're right that there's a chance that maybe they go for something like the studio, because again, everyone loves the studio. A lot of voters are in the studio. Let's just forget about even like watching it. They are in the show. So yeah, and even the studio is, because I mean, I guess Catherine O'Hara could get a nomination, but I'll be surprised if she like beat Hannah Einbinder. Right. Who else? I don't really think
Yeah.
Catherine Hahn is
I
an
think
Emmy performance.
Maybe because I think she's just having a moment as a person. So I think she could make it in. I think she's just having a moment because she's been doing a lot of campaigning and she has like Agatha all along as well. So I almost feel like it would manifest more for a studio nom more so than an Agatha nom. But I don't know. Maybe it goes
I think
opposite.
there'll be one studio nom in supporting actress. I just don't know if it would be strong enough to win. I think at least one of them will get nominated. I just don't know if it's strong enough to win. I think Zoe Kravitz will be more big. Zoe Kravitz will probably be a guest. I don't have the studio on my wishes, but now I'm thinking about it, I think I'll probably put Zoe Kravitz and Dave Franco for like guest noms. I would really like them to get guest noms for their performances.
Yeah, I think Zoe and like Bryan Cranston for me. Like my whole family group chat after the finale aired was just, oh my God, Bryan Cranston. That was some crazy physical comedy. Like he really made an impression with everyone.
Yeah, I'm trying to do first of all, your whole family watches the studio. That's great. That's like,
we're like a TV family, which is
nice. I would like to be
everyone
involved in that
gets to
family
hear me
group
yap
chat.
away.
I don't know what the procedure is like. I don't know if I have to fill any forms, so I would like to be involved in that family group chat if possible. I'm trying to do the math. I don't know if Bryan Cranston was in enough to make him a supporting actor or enough for guest.
He's in guest.
He's in guest? Okay.
Yeah.
I think he's in maybe 4 episodes out of 10. So yeah, that'll probably be guest. Okay, yes, then I think he'll probably get the nomination, yeah. Dave Franco in the last 2 episodes was just incredible for me. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was like, because again, I like the way he's able to turn it off. That's like, because when you see his interview, you see that he's not that person, but he's able to turn these things up and be a douche or anyway, whatever. Yeah. Any other hacks, wishes you have, and prayer requests?
Yeah, I mean, I think Paul will make it again in supporting actor because he did last time. So like obviously pulling through for him again. Yeah, a lot of just repeat wins. So I expect. Like I do think they're probably the front runner for writing again for episode 9, A Slippery Slope. That's what they submitted for writing and directing. So, like I said, I could see a scenario where they get writing, maybe the studio gets directing, since the studio has a lot of like the one shot sort of episodes that they might go for from a directing perspective. But yeah, one last thing with just studio and hacks is that it's interesting because they're similar, because they're both critiquing the entertainment industry, but I think from very like different perspectives. Like the studio is more critiquing like studio executives versus, hacks is more from the perspective of the artist and trying to keep their integrity against like these executives that are giving them orders to kind of do something else and change their show.
Yeah.
So it'll kind of be interesting to see what voters go for more. Again, I just leaned towards hacks if I had a ballot, mostly because of the characterization. Like I think Ava and Deborah are some of the best written characters on television, and it's such a rarity that you get 4 seasons with characters like this, and everything about them, their hopes and dreams, things they're allergic to. Like there's just this there's just this level of like emotional investment you have when you have characters like this. And I would say that's I like the studio, but it's lacking a little bit in the studio. Like I don't really feel as much of a connection with the characters, and there's not so much of a character arc that goes on throughout the season. It's a bit more episodic. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's personal taste, but that's why I still lean towards Hacks.
Mm-hmm. No, 100% agree with you. Like your takes. I think the interesting things that probably on the inverse, I probably prefer the studio to Hacks, but like that's well, everything you said is true. Like I do think it's those things that make me like the studio more. 'Cause I think everything said is intentional for the studio, right? I think they
Hmm.
wanted to be episodic. They wanted you to not. These characters are not necessarily caricatures, but they are meant to be not as fully rounded as, for example, the
Yeah.
hacks characters. Yeah, no, I mean we talked about this during the hacks thing. I just loved that 2 week spell when Seth Rogen was on Hacks and the Hacks crew was on the studio. I like seeing when my friends are playing together.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I do think these will be the two. I do think I said it in my tweet. I really do think there's a chance that the Bears shut out this year, and I don't think that's necessarily an indictment on its quality or people finally saying it, that it's not a comedy or whatever. I do think it's just like Hacks and the studio have like produced 2 seasons of like really good television that are
Hmm.
really funny. And again, do you think, with taking your Hacks love aside, what show do you think was watched more, Hacks or the studio?
I think Hacks probably has more viewers overall, but from what I've heard, like I have like one industry friend I talked to, and she says like everybody was talking about the studio. So
Studio,
I
yeah.
think from the actual voter pool, I think you can trust that most of them have watched the studio. So
Hmm.
even though Hacks probably has like more viewers from like a
Overall,
general audience,
yeah,
but
that
like I
was
said, with
yeah,
the viewer pool, I don't think that'll matter. I think they've mostly both seen both shows.
yeah, that was gonna be my answer. Okay, any other Hacks picks before I leave here and
Oh,
just clear out for you?
there's so many guest actresses,
Throw
but
them.
obviously Julianne Nicholson for Dance Mom. I think she'll
Yeah,
get in,
I
but
think so.
I think
Yeah,
I talked about this a lot on the last episode. I think she just came in, made a big splash. She had a kind of great character arc for only 3 episodes, just from like this small town, nervous Canadian woman to like just an absolute, cocaine snorting
do we?
freak.
So we did talk about this last episode, but do we think she was actually nervous, or was that a front? Like, do we think this was who she always was, like the cocaine version, and she was just trying to be demure and like to her new agents?
I think it's that she hadn't been exposed to that sort of environment yet. I
So
think
you're
it's just like
saying,
when you've had a person I think it was
wow,
always
okay.
within her, and then the beast was unleashed when she went to LA. And
So you're,
maybe it never would
uh,
have come out if she didn't go to LA. Like, that
that's
was a
interesting.
prerequisite.
That's
Yeah.
scary, actually, because my thinking was that she was already doing cocaine in Canada. But what you're saying is that she does it in LA and becomes this person, which is
I think
very scary,
so, and I think
actually.
that's why she went so crazy with it. Because if you've
Yeah,
been doing it for a while, I think you could handle yourself better, but she
fair.
hasn't. That's why they have to go through the whole, boofing scene to, like, get her up on stage.
I guess maybe I just had a very cynical read on it, that she was trying to pretend to be good and nice to her agents, which makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna clear the room for you now. This is the period where you just get to talk for 30 minutes uninterrupted about Severance.
Oh my
What,
gosh.
what, what are you, are you, are you ready?
And I gotta, like,
Are
stretch
you
out, I
stretched
gotta
out?
get ready for this.
Okay, go ahead. What are your prayers for Severance?
I mean, in my head, this would have, like, a full sweep of everything except for, like, supporting actress probably. Um, I honestly think it's top 2 in every category. Like, it might miss some categories, but I think the ones that it misses, it will probably be, like, 2nd place in. Like, I really think it's top of most. But as to why I think it should win Best Drama Series, I think it is the most original, inventive, and artistic show on TV right now. And it is just operating at the highest level from any angle you look at it. Like, I think the cinematography and the production design and the direction is really unmatched by anything else and puts it ahead of a lot of the other contenders because it's just really beautiful filmmaking. Like, you can pause the show at almost any frame and there is something visually interesting going on. And I think that puts it in a category of its own. Obviously, it has exemplary writing and it's able to balance a lot. Like, they're able to dive into these like larger complex themes on like corporate control, labor exploitation, grief, bodily autonomy, while still delivering on like a fun mystery box plot and like a heavy focus on its characters. And I think like with that central premise, like they can explore the psychology of its characters in this like totally unique, fascinating way that no other show can. And I think something that's really smart about the writing is that all of the character arcs are very personal, but also speak to something universal. Like, I think you see that the most with Helly. Like, she's someone who's like at war with herself and holds a lot of self-hatred. But just the fact that Helena is like a product of her environment, of corporate control, and she's jealous of the version of herself that grew up without that, like really speaks to the larger themes of how corporations attempt to strip us of our humanity, right? So I think that's just an example of something that's really smart of like the personal character arc speaking to the larger themes. And that's why you can really dig deep into the show and talk about it for so long. And I know I'm making it sound so cerebral, and though it is like smart and philosophical, I do think it has a lot of heart and warmth at the center. Like, I think people who love the show love it because they love the characters and the relationships together. And I think it's a pretty like optimistic story in its core about like human connection and love thriving even under these, conditions of duress. Um, and we'll get to the acting picks in a minute, so I won't harp too long on that. But obviously, like, everybody is delivering on the show. Like, someone comes on and has 2 lines and they're delivering too. So it's just like, again, strong from all of these different angles. And I'll wrap up with one more thing, but I think
Go ahead.
it's so rare that you have a show that is both like a critical hit and really captures the cultural zeitgeist in this way. I think it's such like a weird niche show, and the fact that it broke out in this way like really speaks to the strength of the world building, which is something I don't think should be taken for granted. And it is really cool because it's totally original, and a lot of successful sci-fi shows now are based on existing IP or their adaptations. And so that's just something that's really, really, really cool to see. And I just think that, I don't know, if you look at the shows in contention this year and you think like, okay, which one of these has the potential to be an all-timer show? Like, it's Severance. And I feel like it feels like a moment right now. And if we don't reward it now, it's going to be one of those shows we look back on in 5 years and we're like, oh, isn't it crazy how that show hasn't won? So I'm really hoping it gets the win. And that is my pitch for it.
Even if I disagreed with you, I am not brave enough to say so.
That's okay.
So
You can say so. We can
no,
have the discussion. I want a discussion.
no. I mean, I agree with you. Like we've covered Severance extensively on the podcast. Like, those are all valid and salient points that you made. Yeah, this is like it's a great show. I've loved Severance season 1. I love Severance season 2. So yeah, I agree with all those points. What are your? Should we go the acting picks and writing and directing? What are you? Actually, no. I just wanted to quickly, because while you were talking, I just wanted to check the actual nominations we got for season 1.
Yeah.
So excluding the creative nominations, that's like the crew, cinematography, and things like that. It got drama series, lead actor for Adam Scott, supporting actor for Totoro and Christopher Walken. I remember that. Supporting actress for Patricia Arquette, directing for Ben Stiller, and writing for Dan Erickson. But it didn't win any. So that's why. So like the main people got nominations from season 1, and then it didn't win anything. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't go the Better Call Saul route.
Yeah. Well, it did get some Emmys, but like it was for main title design
Yeah,
and
yeah. It got the
score, I think. Something like that.
main title design and music composition, yes.
Music composition. Okay.
So it won. Those are the two creative Emmys it won last year. So yeah, it's already better than Better Call Saul anyway. So that's fair.
Yeah, at least it's got a couple at least.
This is one something. Don't get me started on that hill. But yeah, should we go? I mean, look, like I said, Severance is not a new thing to this podcast. We spent 10, 12 weeks talking about Severance. At the beginning of the year, we covered it. We had a wrap-up episode. I was on the Friends podcast previewing season 2 after season 1. So it's a great show, and I agree with all the points you said. And
Perfect.
like the thing about Love is True is something that really hit me when I was rewatching season 1, how like the show is about love. It's like, and it became a lot more calcified this season with Dylan's story. But like in season 1, the moment someone fell in love, that was when their protest that was when their protests began. That's when they're like with Irvin, with Mark. It was once they fell in love or once they lost someone they loved that they were like, okay, this is fuck the system essentially. So yeah, I mean, I agree with everything said on the show. Who are your picks?
Oh, everyone. But no, I think Adam Scott, I'm really I feel so passionate about him winning. I know it's tight between him and Noah Wiley apparently. But
Do
I
you watch The
think
Pit?
I did watch The Pit.
Okay. Did you watch The
I
Pit just so you could hate on it with the knowledge? So you already hated on it like without any, like you knew what you were saying while hating on it.
I did not go in to hate it. I did not.
But you wanted to be like, this is not as good as Severance, and I know you're not as good as Severance and all. So
Maybe.
yeah. Okay.
No, I still think Adam still is above for me. Like like honestly, I think we'll see what the actors vote for, but in my opinion, he's great the whole season. But I think that Cold Harbor, like I think that is a tape that any actor would kill to have because he gets to show off everything in that episode. I mean, so much has been made of just the opening scene, which is like the 17-minute
The back and forth.
confrontation scene between his innie and his outie self, and that is so compelling to watch. And I think we can see that he's been really good at making the characters feel like distinct yet reminiscent of each other throughout the whole show. But I think there's just something different about seeing it side by side. And I think for people who maybe haven't totally appreciated it, it's so stark in those moments because you can just see the way he's like pitching his voice up as his innie. His like mannerisms are a little different. He's carrying himself different, and like he acts off of himself really well. So that's like a really tough thing for like any actor to do, and I think he pulled it off really well. And then that episode has emotional moments. Like I think the scene where he's finishing Cold Harbor with Helly and they talk about the equator, like that is heartbreaking and tender. He has this voice crack when he says, "I want to live with you." And there's just like one tear that rolls down his cheek. It's like, I don't know, I was crying during that scene. And I think it's like one of his best scenes on the show just because of how like vulnerable it is. And then like he gets to be an action star. He's doing fight sequences. He gets beat up. He got a concussion in real life doing that. And there's like comedic moments in the episode too. So I guess I'm just someone that values like range, and I think he has that in spades. I mean, honestly, like I'm like, I don't know what else you could do in this episode to show off your range anymore.
As opposed to Noah Wiley, who is just playing dog. I'm joking. I mean, I haven't watched The Pit, so I realized recently that I've never watched a medical show, which is so weird. I just don't know how. Like, it's not an intentional thing. I just realized, I think the only medical show I've watched was like Doogie Howser when I was like 7. Like, I'm just like, that's weird. I haven't watched ER, Grey's Anatomy. I just never watched a medical show. So interesting.
Yeah, I'm like less into medical shows. I did watch ER at one point. I just did just 8 seasons, but I did 8 of the seasons. It fell off too much for me after. I was like, I can't finish this.
How many seasons of ER are there? Like 15?
It's like
no, not up to 15.
Something. It's almost there.
Oh,
it's
wow.
like probably 13, 14, something like that.
Yeah, I've never really watched. Yeah, anyway. So I have literally no stakes in The Pit. So I'm happy because I can be very unbiased in my vote for Adam Scott. Okay, so Adam Scott, you want to win.
Yeah.
Should we do Brit now while you're still on the
Yeah.
momentum train?
God. I mean, I want everyone to win. I'm so biased, but I'm not. Like, I really think they're doing excellent work, you know? I'm like, because again, a lot of the best performances, it's not just your capacity as an actor. Is the writing allowing you to is it giving you the material to show off everything that you can? And like they're given these really hard acting challenges, so I in turn find it more impressive because the writing is allowing them to show that off.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so with Brit, I think she is just she is like a chameleon-like actress. Like, I think she reminds me of Jodie Comer a lot in a way, where she's just one of those actors that really completely disappears into a character. I think for both versions, but especially Helena, like, when I watch her act, like, there's just, like, not a hint of Brit in her. Like, you watch an interview and you're like, "Who is that?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
as
no, yeah.
Helena, like, her voice is lower. She has, like, a totally different cadence
Walk.
in the way she speaks and carries herself. It's, like, just completely transformative, and, like, I just a lot of actors, even really great actors, don't necessarily have that quality
Mm-hmm.
about them. Um, and then, obviously, she had like, all the actors on Severance have a really tough job, but I think she had the toughest because she had to do the extra challenge of playing her outie Helena, impersonating her
Yeah.
innie Helly. And I sincerely hope that people who didn't clock that it was Helena at the beginning, like, I sincerely hope that they go back and watch those first 4 episodes
Mm-hmm.
because there is a difference between, like, that version of Helly and then actual Helly who comes kind of bursting in episode 5. It's like a slightly reserved version that's like trying to be rebellious, but it feels awkward for her. Like, you can tell she's stepping into those
Yeah.
shoes for the first time. It's like a little unnatural, and it's good because it's so subtle. Like, I think another actor might have been too overt about it, but it's like just on the line of being a little subtle, but just enough where you can tell if you're paying attention.
I can't remember if I mentioned this on the podcast or just a personal conversation, but I was wondering if they amped up Helly in this season to show the difference. Because how do I put it? When you watch the show in chronological order, the Helena pretending to be Helly doesn't seem that different from the Helly from season 1. But then when Helly comes back, you're like, oh, the difference is so clear. So I wonder if like they amped up Helly a bit more from how she was in season 1, because it's just like I was just like, oh, why didn't I notice? Like, obviously the theory for those
Hmm.
of us who were podcasting and online, we knew the theory about it being Helena was there from episode
Yeah.
1. So obviously we're watching that, but I was like, oh, why didn't I see that they're so different? Like, did they increase it, or was it just us not being so? Because a lot of people's things were like, oh, the Night Gardener story, or like it was never. Those were the clues everybody was pointing out. Not necessarily like this is a different character that walks differently and like it's not as fiery as like. I was like, oh yeah, we actually
Mhm.
just all missed that.
I
Um,
don't know if she's amping it up necessarily because I almost think that Helly in season 1 has like a bit more. It's like she hasn't gone through as much trauma yet, so she's a little less like unburdened and a
that's
little
it. Yeah,
more just moving through the world with more gusto a bit versus I think when Helly comes in 5, you obviously know it's Helly, but I think there's almost a bit of like it's like she's gone through something a bit, and you can almost tell that's like weighing on her.
yeah,
So I almost think there's still a difference with Helly in season 1 and 2, only because the character is
has
growing,
gone
and
through
I
something.
think
Yeah.
they've likened this to kind of the teenage years, and I definitely feel that a
Mm-hmm.
little bit.
Tremel Tillman is going to win the Emmy for Best Supporting Actor,
We hope.
but if you want to give a 30-second pitch now, you can go ahead. But he's going to win the like at this point. I am pretty sure he's like if anyone is going to win something from Severance, it's him. He's gonna win the Emmy for Best Supporting Actor. I'm pretty sure.
I hope so. I think he's kind of running a good campaign, and he's like very visible right now. I think just having Mission Impossible come out when it did was
Mhm.
like, you cannot plan that timing better. It was like
So
he popped up at the
helpful.
Met Gala, he looked great, and then the Mission Impossible premieres a few days later, and you're like, this is fantastic timing for him. I do think Walton Goggins is out there, and he's obviously like very respected in the TV industry because he's been around for a while. So maybe
I
it's
don't.
close. I don't know. I'm hoping I'm reading the Tramel Tillman tea leaves right, that
If
he can pull
Goggins
it off.
wins, people are giving him for Baby Billy. They're giving him for Righteous Gemstones, not for White Lotus. If he wins, like he wouldn't even be my pick from White Lotus, if I'm being honest. So like I've probably it's not my list because I don't care that seriously about it. But I'll probably pick Patrick Schwarzenegger before Walton Goggins. In this season of White Lotus,
Yeah,
but
Patrick felt like the Megan Fahey of this year's White Lotus, like the person
mhm,
you're not expecting to make the most impression, but then they
yeah,
kind of do by the
and
end.
you're like, wait, this person is actually being very good, and then all of a sudden, like they go on an incredible arc.
Mhm.
I'll be surprised, and this Tramatoma thing is not even necessarily just from his. My own thinking is not necessarily from his campaigning. I just feel like whenever I see anyone talk about the show, anyone being like industry people, like Milchek comes up almost immediately.
Mhm.
Like that's like the first thing someone mentions. It's just Milchek. It's because he is the enigma. He is the person that on one hand says this is the tallest waterfall in the world, and on the other hand is like leading a band, a choir. So it's like I do think I'll be surprised if he doesn't win. I will be very surprised if he doesn't. If he doesn't win,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll be very surprised. Um,
Yeah, he's I mean, yeah, it's an iconic character at this point, and it's so crazy because he has this combination of like menacing friendliness, like you're both very unnerved by him, but you're taken in by his charisma, and it's a very fascinating combination. It's kind of a magic trick to pull off, and he somehow does it.
yeah. My prayer, my wish in that category though would be for Zach Cherry to get nominated. I
Mhm. Mhm.
really do want him to get. I thought he was good. I loved every Dylan and Gretchen. Is
Yep.
that yeah?
Yep.
Every Dylan and Gretchen scene. The one in the finale just knocked me out. The
Yeah, when he
conversation between
proposes to her.
yeah. Oh no, that was I think that was that the finale or the penultimate? The
Oh,
proposal.
that's the penultimate. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the finale
Yeah.
is Ini and Alti Dylan talking. I was just like,
Mhm.
this is just yeah, and like I wasn't like Totoro is always good, but I didn't like the Alti Irvin stuff didn't really work for me as well this season. But Dylan, so like if I was to go Zach Cherry for Totoro, I'll be very fine with that. I just thought Dylan was very good this season. And I just like, and Zach Cherry works a lot. And I feel like he deserves some kind of like, he seems like a person that doesn't get the praise from the
Mhm.
show. Like everyone else, Adam Scott, Britt Lower, Joe Totoro, they all get kind of praise. I really do. I think he deserves to get some praise because everybody, oh, he's just the comedic relief. And I think he does so much more than that. So I would really like for him to get some kind of like personal praise for his work this season.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. He was really good, and I think he deserves to be there. I think he's like a bubble contender, so maybe he
yeah,
makes it in. I think if they go hard on Severance, like he'll come along for the ride. I did like John Turturro's arc a lot this season too. I know what you mean, where he's like less prominent in the second half, but I think Woe's Hollow is just such an incredible
incredible,
showcase for
incredible.
him. So, yeah, I mean, I think he'll make it in because he made it
Yeah.
in for the first,
Ini
and he did
Ini
great here.
Irvin,
But
Ini Irvin was not perfect for me. I think for me, I feel Alti, Irvin, and Bert at the train station didn't work for me as well as I think they wanted it to do. And like this is a whole different thing, but I think it was mostly because like I had fallen in love with Ini Irvin and Ini Bert story in which Alti Irvin and Alti Bert just didn't. I don't know. For me, mentally, it just didn't hit the same way. So that's a whole different thing. But everything about Ini Irvin, the first 4 episodes, not perfect, nothing. Wolves Hollow, give him. You can even give him the Emmy for that episode alone. But yeah,
yeah,
so Patricia
yeah, John.
Arquette, do you have any
I mean, I mean, my hope is that both her. We'll get to Deechin in a second, but my hope is that both her and
teacher?
Deechin can make it in. Again, that's just like another similar to supporting actress in a comedy. Supporting actress in drama is also super competitive, just because of all of the White Lotus people. We have two
Mm-hmm.
Severance people, Last of Us, Allison
Last of
Janney. So
Us.
there's so
Yeah,
many like options that can go here. But I mean, I know the Cobell episode was less beloved by people, but Patricia Arquette is still very good in the episode, right? Like
mm-hmm.
I think she's sort of like reverting back to this childlike version of her. I guess that's also something fascinating about the show is that like a lot of it's about childhood with like the innies, like literally going back to their inner child. But then even some of the outie characters are kind of like having to confront that a bit. So I think you kind of see that more innocent, vulnerable side of her with like family members and people from her past. And then you kind of see just the hurt that she's feeling from the fact that she's like not appreciated by this company that she's given her whole life to. And I think that kind of rage and frustration really comes out, especially at the end of the episode in the scene with her sister. So I still think she definitely would like deserve to be here. We'll see if it happens just because, like I said, I know the episode wasn't as beloved, but she is Patricia Arquette. So I'm hoping that
she is
pulls her
Patricia
through.
Arquette.
And the episode, like she was great in the episode. She really was. So
Deeched is so annoyed because she was in like what 3 episodes, and then she's in like one scene in like 3 other episodes. So she goes from guest to supported, which is just like I was like, oh, that was her Emmy that we put her in the supporting category. Yeah, I mean, does your pitch for her go beyond episode 7? Like that's just
it's just mostly about episode 7.
what like that's just an incredible work, beautiful work. Yeah,
I think it was just a tough task because you had to make the audience fall in love with Gemma in one episode to make them have an investment in her before the finale, because we only really knew her as Miss Casey. So there was a lot of work to do in one episode to like develop like empathy for her. And like just, I mean, obviously her existence just makes you feel bad, but I think kind of seeing that she has a little bit of like determination and fight in her makes it even more heartbreaking that she can't escape. And then also just the fact that she had to craft all of these different like innie personas. And I think it's super well done because all of these innies are like a little different than the innies on the MDR floor. Like, because they're a little more childlike, but also more hardened because they don't leave each of their little torture rooms. So she's kind of giving these different flavors to each version too. So that episode alone, it was so much work she had to do, and I think she did well with it. And I think she still has a chance because even though she wasn't in as much of the season, the campaign for Severance is very much centered around episodes 7 and 10, and that's what she's most prominent in. So I still am feeling semi-optimistic on her chances, but we'll see.
There's an idea. There's an idea that about why it's difficult to portray musicians and stand-up comics on screen. It's that like if you say someone is a good musician, then you need to like they need to play music well for the audience to believe that they're like good enough to be like the Beatles or Rolling Stones or whatever. Same thing with stand-up comic, which is why Hats is so good. I'm going to modify that idea and explain why Deechen's work was so difficult in 7. Because at that point, we've spent 16 episodes seeing Gemma as this like embodiment of perfection. Like once she dies, everyone in her life crumbles. Like her sister-in-law is like, I loved her too. Her husband cannot take the grief so much that he severes his brain. Like, so now she has to come 15 hours into the show and be like, and portray that person in a realistic way. We have to be like, oh, I get it. If I was Mark and I lost her as well, I would do the same thing. Like, it's so much that she has to live up to while also being human and being a normal person and not falling into tropes, not falling into like perfect characterizations of women. Like, it's just this goes to the writing as well, obviously, but like it's such a good performance, and like she made us believe that Gemma was perfect, but also not perfect because she's human. And I just thought like, yeah, that's just a great performance from her in that episode.
Yeah.
Do you have any? I'm sure you do. So what I'm saying, do you have? What are your writing and directing picks for the show that you want to get nominated?
Yeah, well, they only submitted Cold Harbor for writing, and I loved that finale, so I'm definitely rooting for it there. And then they submitted 3 episodes in directing. They did, again, Cold Harbor, Chikai Bardo, which is 7, like we've been talking about. They also did 6, Attila, which That was kind of honestly, that was a favorite episode of mine, actually.
So obviously that's the episode that,
That's like the romance episode. Like that is
yeah,
where you have like Helena and Mark at the restaurant, you have the
okay,
Irving and Bert dinner. So, like I said, I think 7 and 10 have the more like cinematic and visually beautiful moments, but like 6 as an episode is probably like one of my favorites just in terms of I don't know, just in terms of the storylines.
I'm guessing you would want all of them to, but they can't all be nominated. So I'm guessing you want
Yeah,
Attila.
I think 7 and 10 is what will I mean, I honestly didn't even know they were submitting 6 for a while. So, I mean, my picks would be 7 and 10. I think just because visually those are like next level for me. I think
Mhm.
obviously 7 has all of these cool like transitions, like the cable transition. There's this one that's on Gemma's eyes, and it goes from
Mhm.
like the joyful moment where she's like learning she's pregnant, and then there's kind of a shadow over her, and then her eyes kind of shift to like where she's having her miscarriage and she's like filled with
Yeah.
grief. And it's like there's so many moments like that in 7. And the way she kind of plays with space and time is like really incredible. I I love Cold Harbor a lot too. I think there's so much going on in that episode that tonally is really hard to get right. Just because you go from these emotional moments where you're building tension, and then you have like a marching band and all these kind of crazy zany things that happen. They even bring in some comedy in the action scenes, and then they kind of build the tension to bring it up to Mark's choice. And I think that was hard to get right. I also think just the lighting design throughout that whole episode is incredible. I remember going into it, I was hearing that it was like visually one of the most interesting or gorgeous of the whole show, and I was like, doesn't it mostly take place in the office?
Yeah.
Like little did I know how they could transform that space.
Yeah.
From like the Cold Harbor scene where it's all shadowy, but they have like the blue and green lights kind of dancing off their faces. Obviously, the end windmills of your mind where like the red kind of waves out in ribbons, and that was
Mhm.
a very cool design choice versus like harsh flashing lights. So just I don't know, just so many great moments in both those
Yeah.
episodes.
I think Ben Stiller lost his only Emmy win was something like, I think 26 years ago. So maybe he's due one.
Yeah,
Um yeah.
I think he could
Oh
win it,
no.
but it depends if they
30
vote split.
32 years ago he won for the Ben Stiller show in 1993, and he has won an Emmy since. So
Oh,
um yeah, I think, yeah, so you want so your prayer will be directing 2 noms and writing 1 nom.
yep.
Fair.
I
Um
think I think that will happen. Like I feel pretty confident that'll happen.
okay, Merit
We'll see.
Weaver, where do you
I think her and Gwendolyn Christie will get in. I was so happy Barrett Weaver qualified for guest because she was another where I think she has like one scene with a phone call that could
but
have
but we
maybe
don't see her, we don't see her though. And I don't think she's
we
credited in
don't
that
see
episode.
her. Yeah, she wasn't credited. But I was scared they were going to put her in supporting because I think she's like a
Yeah.
perfect guest winner
Yeah. I'm sure
potentially.
really like
Yeah,
her.
like I think the scenes you mentioned with Zach are like really incredible, and she's a big part of that. I think she's
Yeah.
like you can just
The
feel how
the
torn she
proposal
is.
scene, like her
Yeah.
reaction proposal, like we've discussed this. Like I think fundamentally she's wrong for what she did to Ina Dylan, but I understand it, and I know I can understand the allure. And I think when he gets on one knee, she realizes like kind of the mistake she's made, because like there's a way she performs that. Oh no, where it just kind of grabs her, and I was just, yeah, Merit Weaver is always great. So that was a
Yeah,
real
there's like a guilt
surprise
of like,
there.
oh, maybe I shouldn't have strung him
Yeah,
along, but she was enjoying
exactly.
it so much that she couldn't tear herself
Yeah.
away. And it's really well done.
Okay, while I stretch, because we're almost an hour in, so it's almost my turn. Do you have anything else about Severance that you want to just say that we haven't mentioned yet?
I think we've really
We've gone through
gone deep
it.
on this. So yeah, I'm hoping every actor we mentioned gets in. Maybe they can expand even more if they go crazy on the show. So we'll
Hmm.
see.
Okay, so for anyone who spent more than one episode with the podcast, like my pick is industry. Like we're gonna get into the industry section now. Um, I can't even believe that we're having this discussion, considering where we started with industry. Like the fact that if there's even somewhat of an awards like push for this show is crazy to me. I think the idea of this podcast episode is like Emmy's prayers requests. And honestly, that's just for industry because everything here is a prayer request. Nothing here is guaranteed. Nothing here is even close to being guaranteed. If you don't know the story about industry, this show came out in what? December 2020, I think, season 1. They did like the first 4 episodes week to week, and then they just dropped the last 4 on HBO Max, stroke BBC iPlayer on one random day. Like 5 of us watched the first season. We've said it like first season was okay. I was like, okay, this is fine. Season 2 came and I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to television. And then season 3 somehow got better. You know that we love the show on this podcast. We did 2 episodes a week for season 3. We basically had our normal review episodes with Ayo and then preview episodes every week. We are biased, unfortunately, because Mickey and Conrad have been on the podcast twice, but it's good to be biased for a show that's actually good. Because you guys know I'm shameless. If the show was bad and they had come on the podcast, I would still be pitching it like this. So at least I can say this with a guilt-free heart.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I remember we're discussing because season 2 came out in over the summer last year, and I was talking to Ayo offline. I was like, do we think, because if you know about Emmys, if you know about awards, really, recency bias is the main thing, right? Which is why shows pack their releases between January and May, so that when voting starts in June, people remember. So we're like, do we think they're going to give them a push? And I'll get to my picks in a second, and they're not pushing them like the way they would push, or they're pushing Last of Us or whatever. But like I said, the fact that people are even appearing on roundtables and they're like, their magazines for this show is a bit insane, and like I think it's deserved.
Mhm.
But it is like I was like, oh, I can't believe it's weird to watch a show grow like in front of your face like that. So I know you watch industry, but like what's your feeling to what are your feelings towards industry?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely did blow up because I was hearing a lot about it right before season 3. So you could tell HBO was pushing it right
Mm-hmm.
before then because they got the Sunday night slot,
It
and
did,
I was just
yeah.
hearing a lot more buzz about it. So I binged the first 2 seasons going into it. I think it's a show that got better and better as it went along.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't as hot on the first season, but I think it got better and better. And I think the 3rd season is absolutely worthy of like being in the Emmys conversation. And the actors as well. Like I think like Marissa Bella, I know she won at BAFTA, and that was like a good moment for her. I've seen her on some roundtables. Ken Leung's really great too. Like he'd be a great supporting actor
Yeah, I mean,
nomination.
let's use that to go into my picks. I mean,
Yeah.
in an ideal world, Marissa Bella and Mahala would get nominations for Best Actress. Again, I'm fighting against the current here, so I don't think that's going to happen. I do think HBO has, I think, in my opinion, smartly put its eggs in the Marissa Bella basket for this awards run. I think she's British, so it made more sense for her to win the BAFTA. And obviously now she has that BAFTA kind of win behind her sales, and they're kind of using that to. I mean, people are complaining that Mahala, and I get it. I'm not trying to downplay like the fact that Mahala should be pushed here. Ideally,
Mhm.
I would think she would push here. If this was a wide lotus show, I'm sure she'll be pushed as well. But I think in a show like industry where you're fighting against the odds, it makes sense to kind of push. If you can push, if you have only one person to push, you push the more obvious candidate, right?
Yeah.
I disagree. This might be me. I disagree with the idea that like Mahala had an inconsequential role last season. Harper, like obviously she was quiet for the first 2 episodes, but that was intentional. I don't think you can watch the entire show and be like, oh, Harper didn't do anything last season. Um, so ideally, I would have Marissa and Mahala nominated, but that's not going to happen. So hopefully, Marissa gets it. I do think Ken Leung should be nominated for Best Supporting Actor in a Drama. I don't think. Yeah, actually, I maybe only Tremel Tillman. I don't think anyone else has put a better performance in a supporting actor in a drama show than him in the last 12 months. I think we might forget what he was drunk for the whole season. Eric was drunk for the whole of season 3. He was drunk and high and going through and dyeing his hair and going through personal crisis and sleeping with
Oh
sex
yeah.
workers. Like we are forgetting what Eric went through last season.
Yeah,
And I
he
don't
went through
like
it.
it. Yes. We are forgetting what Ken Leung did. And I really do think, like, as someone, that's a veteran actor that deserves praise, even excluding the industry thing. Like, he's been on TV for what, almost 30 years. He does deserve to get recognition. I really do hope he gets nominated. Very unlikely. I haven't seen him in anything, but I really hope he does.
Yeah, I wonder if industry, I don't know, because HBO is a great campaigner, but I wonder if industry, if it was on a different streamer that didn't have 3 other shows that it was pushing ahead, if it would have a little bit more of a campaign. But it's
But
just
then,
hard. They have so many
yeah,
shows they're pushing, right?
yeah. The question then becomes, like, which other streamer would, like, have it? Because it wouldn't, on Netflix, it won't get, like, well, I'm not getting to my Netflix problems now. It's like, which other streamer would even give it the platform in the first place to be a show, then, like, push it? It goes to a question I was discussing with Ayo, who covered this industry. We were discussing it offline as well. It's like, do we think next season, for example, does HBO now put it in the Emmy slot or keep it in the summer slot? Well, it's an interesting, like, do they air in March next year, or do they air in summer next year? It's like, where
Well,
does the show put it? Where does this
it
network
depends.
put it?
I think it depends how the schedule is for like their other shows. Like if industry is coming out in the season before like the next White Lotus and the next Last of Us, then it could get some
Oh,
extra
100%, because
attention.
they're
But
shooting
I think if
industry
it
now.
falls in the same year again, then it's just going to have
Yeah.
the same problems.
Well, I mean, industry has, I might be wrong, but I feel like it's come out a different, like, I think this is the first time they got a summer release, which I really do think helped it, because it helped to get viewers. Like, coming out in the
Mhm.
summer, it was coming out to House of the Dragon and just before the Penguin, to, like, be able to give it this summer push.
Mhm.
But they're shooting now, so they'll be done shooting. I don't know if they'll be ready by March, for example, but, like, they're going to be ready before The White Lotus and Last of Us are done. Like, those shows are not even, I don't know if they've finished writing the scripts. Like, those are 2027 shows at best. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's like, but I think it depends on HBO does decide, do we want to gain more viewers for industry, or do we want to gain awards for industry? But like you said, they have so many shows for awards, like, the decision is difficult. I think, for me, this was my best show last year, 100%. But I do think objectively, in the year of 2024, this was not worse. Maybe objectively is a harsh way to say it. I just don't think there were 3 shows better than Industry that came out last year. Like, Industry was my favorite show of the year. Shogun was my second. I can understand if Shogun's your first. I just can't think of 2 more shows that are better than Industry that came out last year. I do think Industry deserves to be in this Emmy conversation. And I really feel, yeah, and I feel really sad that it's not. But that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I think the production value was like up so high this season. I know that like Rishi episode was a really great like standalone episode. I think they submitted it for writing, which was interesting. I was looking at the ballots. But yeah,
So
I
I
mean, if
didn't,
I look at the other HBO shows, I do think I would probably put this above most of the ones they're pushing right now. Like
yeah,
honestly, so
yeah.
but you know, we almost don't consider it because it just seems so far outside of the circle currently. But it probably shouldn't be.
I didn't actually even look at the Emmy ballots. I'll look at that now. But my own pick. So I'm just going to give my picks for, I think, writing. I had episode 6. This is titled Nikki Beach, or So Many Ways to Lose. The creator writer on that was Joseph Charlton. In case you don't remember what the episode was, I'll just explain to listeners. That was the episode that showed the full yacht scene. It had the Erica and Yasmin lunch scene. Again, if in case you've forgotten, industry puts like a season's worth of plot in one episode, which just again, so it had the Eric and Yasmin launch scene. It had the anti-Pierpoint Avengers scene. That was with Kenny, Daria, and Jackie talking with Petra and Harper. It had the Eric and Harper scene. And then it had the Harper and Yasmin scene where they slap each other. That was one episode. Like, and then I also put episode 7, Useful Idiot. I didn't even put the Rishi episode. Honestly, I forgot about the Rishi episode, which is so. And then directing, I had the finale. Those are my picks for like writing and directing.
Yeah, directing they did finale, and then writing was the Rishi episode. But I
So
agree
they
with
put
you.
up only,
I think Nikki Beach was probably like the standout for me. Like when I think back on what was most memorable in the season
yeah.
for me.
So they put up only one
I think
writing episode.
yeah. I mean, I do think that's smart if you're trying to increase your chances of getting in.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I might have gone for Six or Nikki Beach or something, but
Well, I guess
you know,
the Rishi episode is more awards friendly. It's like a standalone episode with a supporting
yeah,
character going through things. So like that's more awards bait, if anything. Yeah. I'm just going through it now. You're right. Yeah. Directing, they put
yeah,
the finale just like I put there as well. But I guess Nikki Beach wasn't they didn't write that episode. So I'm assuming again, it's back to what I said earlier, like industry is such a they're not Severance, right? They're such an underdog that they can't put up two different episodes. So they have to go with the one that's written by the writers, the showrunners, yeah. Anyway, that's just kind of like my thing for industry. I think it deserves some nominations. I think it was one of the best shows of the year. And yeah, it's literally the little show that could. Like they were talking about how like their budget hasn't changed from season one. They've just become smarter of how to use it.
Ugh.
Like it's the same budget they've had from season one. They just know how to use it better now. Yeah, I just really like the show. I'm afraid that final season 4 is the final season, so hopefully we get them some wins before then.
Yeah.
Our kind of like our final category, big category, is a surprise to me. I didn't know you were a fan of this show. It's Shrinking, which is another
Shrinking.
favorite of the podcast. And I like the way that we both said shrinking and like our mouths kind of like involuntarily just erupted into a smile because
Yeah,
that's the way you react to shrinking, despite its
absolutely.
very, very heavy themes. What's your history with Shrinking? Were you there from season 1? Did you binge it before season 2?
I was there from season 1. I just think it has a great like team behind it, you know, with like Brett Goldstein,
Bill
you know,
Lawrence,
yeah, Bill
Jason Segel.
Lawrence, and you know, kind of the team behind Ted Lasso. And I love the cast. Like I love Jason Segel. We love Harrison Ford. So I think just the team behind it just made me tune in. And you know, I don't know. I'm someone that actually like watches Apple shows, so I'm a bit more like just on the lookout for new stuff
Yes.
that's on the platform. So I
Yes,
think
the
when you
six of
see that,
us.
yeah, the Apple truthers are here. Yeah, and I think it's a great show, and I think what it did even better from season 1 to 2 is like utilize this whole ensemble cast. Like I think that is the most impressive thing about it with all of these shows is that it's this big ensemble and yet it feels like everybody has equal screen time. Every single character has their own story arc and they found like an organic way for every single character to interact with each other in a way that doesn't feel forced. And so
Mm-hmm.
you know, you get a lot of interesting pair ups, and it means like no one is off screen for a long time because, you know, one character can't interact with another or something. So it's just such an impressive ensemble. And as we stated, this is a show where you are laughing and crying often at the same time, often right next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's so heartfelt and sometimes you know it's about to make you cry and you know it's coming and it makes you do it anyways and you love and you hate it that it does that to you. Um, but yeah, it's a great story about like grief and it tackles a lot of heavy themes
Yeah.
related to that.
Yeah. To your point earlier, I was listening to Jason Segel somewhere on this awards run, and he mentioned how in while making season 1, they realized that like every character could be the lead in their own show. So obviously
Mm-hmm.
they took that into season 2 to kind of give them their own storylines. I think again, I hope I don't butcher this name, but I think Michael Urier was excellent in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
I like even just the recurring gag of him explaining how he met Brett Goldstein's character, and that was funny on its own, but he was so funny this season. And I mentioned how like on the podcast how he's a character in a different show that might just annoy me a lot. Right. There are things that he says that from any other character, either performer, I would like. There was a point where he's like in season 1, where he was like, where he keeps saying like everything's always come up my way. And
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know, in different characters, different actors' hands, I'll be like, okay, I just don't like you're a bit too much, for example. But then he just managed to modulate everything so well in this the show and playing this season. I really do like it. I think the show is so good. Um
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
first, maybe we'll just go back and forth. I think this is the one that we do have kind of equal picks.
Mhm.
My first prayer request is that Harrison Ford wins the Emmy for this category.
Yeah, I think, the season 1 performance was so weird, right? Because I think we all went into nominations day thinking that, hoping the show would do better than it did, but we thought that maybe Harrison Ford would be the only Emmy nom. And then in a
Mm-hmm.
turn of events, he got snubbed, but Jessica Williams and Jason Segel got in. So it was such a pleasant surprise for them because they so obviously deserve it. But Harrison Ford missing was like very strange to me. But I think this year, like if he gets in, he is win competitive because I mean, I think the finale alone is incredible. I mean, I think the whole season, like dealing with his Parkinson's, like he's able to bring a lot of like humor to that. And obviously he's kind of known for his like deadpan delivery, which really
Yeah.
makes me laugh. But oh my God, his monologue at the end where he's kind of like thanking everybody for being there for him and like being his rock and how much he's going to need them in the future. And he's kind of getting over, um, he's getting over his inability to ask for help in that scene too, and it's kind of hard for him, but he's very vulnerable about it. And yeah, I think there's not a dry eye in the house during that
Mm.
scene. So
Yeah, I've heard them talk about shooting the scene, and apparently every take, everyone will just burst into tears. Every single take.
yeah,
I Look, I know Harrison Ford is not going to do press. He's not going to do an award circuit. But I really do think Apple should be doing more for him in this, like that scene should be everywhere. Like
hmm
he, like, yeah, because he really, he should, like, if we're just going through the list of supporting actors, I do think he should win. Like, all the respect to Paul Downs, who we love, Ike Barinholtz will probably be nominated. I'm just like, I do, it's Harrison Ford being emotional in a comedy on Apple TV. I really do think, like, I think if more people are watching this show, I do think, like, he should win for this category. Do you have any, do you have any other acting
I mean, I
wishes?
want Jessica and Jason to repeat. I think because they made it into the first season, they'll
Yeah.
repeat again. But I love Jessica Williams. I was actually just seeing some FYC ads when I was going through like the Gold Derby site or something with
Same.
Jessica Williams' face, and I
Yeah,
was like,
same.
I love seeing her around. No,
Is
I think she's
she,
just like such a charismatic person. Like she is a person that she should be leading some shows after this. She should have
mhm,
some lead roles because she just has so much charisma. She exudes so much warmth. You want to be friends with her. She has so much chemistry with the whole cast. And she's just really naturalistic on screen. And I think she delivers like on the emotional parts, like with her mother. I think that whole storyline of like maybe having to become her caretaker and dealing with that. I think that's like relatable to people as, your parents get older and those kind of just big decisions you have to deal with.
yeah.
And then obviously she's funny and has some pretty A+ line deliveries throughout the whole series. So I'm a fan of hers for sure.
Is she a lead or supporting? I'm trying to
She's
find out.
supporting. She's supporting.
Okay, she's still supporting. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think she'll make it in. I think for the win, obviously, I'm very Hannah Einbinder biased, partly just because it is. I mean, she's also a co-lead on the show, and it's been so long. But, um, I want Jessica to get nominated and maybe a win in her future. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do think, like, if I was voting, I'll vote Hannah Einbind about nominate Jessica Williams as well. Um, do you have any writing? I have one.
Um, what did they submit? Oh, they submitted the finale for writing, and I think
Yeah, that
that's
makes sense.
probably what I would go for. I think it kind of wrapped up all of the emotional arcs really well and in a very like satisfactory way, which can be hard to do when you have like so many going on.
Yeah.
So I think I would go for that one. But what's your pick?
Full grown dude face. That is episode 9 of 12. I understand why they were submitted because, again, Bill Posley is the creator writer, so he's not one of the showrunners. For anyone who's been following me or the podcast, you might remember that I wrote about shrinking last year. If you haven't read it, I'll just pin it on my Twitter so you can my Twitter and read it. But this was the episode that inspired that. This episode is the episode where oh my god, I'm just laughing thinking about the episode now. This is the episode where Jimmy meets Alice's boyfriend and is like at the start, and then he basically saves his life. and then that whole thing starts. But the main crux of the episode is when, or the main thing, and I think it's the episode where Michael Urie's character and his husband are looking to adopt as well. So it's that same episode. But this is when Alice is at the party and she calls Jimmy, and they have that whole conversation in the car about grief, about it never changing and you being this person forever. I won't spoil my article. My article was kind of talking about that and grief and all of that stuff. So yeah, I think I just thought this was a great episode, great, well-written episode. Like every line is so funny, but at the same time, it's like, it's the perfect, I mean, the finale does this as well too, so it's not a competition, but it's like the perfect drinking episode in which like it's very funny, but it also talks about some of the darkest shit any human being could go through. And it's like in the same episode. And I do think like a lot of Jason Segel's work was leading up to that moment. Well, that moment and then the moment at the train station with Brett Goldstein, like everything that he's ever done on How I Met Your Mother or like Dispatches from Elsewhere, in shows where he's like keeping stupidly funny things. Like this episode lets him be like slapstick funny, but at the same time be like cuddly Marshall, but like quite effective and emotional. It's just a really good episode. But I don't understand why they submit the finale. But that was my pick for the writing. I wonder
Yeah,
what
I
did
think
for
all
the
his scenes with
directing.
his daughter are so good. Lukita Maxwell.
Yes.
I don't know if she would make it in here, but
No.
she has my award for being like the most likable teenager
Yeah.
on TV ever.
That's
You know,
good. That's a good award.
there's so
Yeah.
many teenagers that, you know, they just write them to be so I don't know. I'm trying to find a different word that's not annoying, but
Mhm.
you know, a little too headstrong and it's causing issues. And I just feel like she actually feels like a real teenager and like is mature and yeah, I think she just feels a lot more real than most portrayals that I find
Yeah.
a little bit lazy in other shows. Like she just feels very like well-rounded and I appreciate that.
I can't find that directing nomination or what they put. I'm sure it's probably be the finale as well. But my pick was Changing Patterns. This is the episode. This is the flashback episode. That is like half flashback where we kind of see how Jimmy's wife dies. And I remember being very affected by that episode and the way like they kind of balance his story and Brett Goldstein's character's story. I don't know if I'm biased for the show. Actually, I know I'm biased for the show, but I was surprised as to how they actually like pulled off the Brett Goldstein character. Because
Yeah, it was something I
yeah,
thought I would be more resistant to and like I
same.
kind of was at first, but I think it did win me over by the end.
Yeah. Same. I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, so because by all accounts we should hate this person and we should never not hate this person. Yeah. So I was like, okay. I was quite by then I was surprised as to how they eventually, because at every point, even when Jim is like, I can't like, I'm like, I get it. I'm on your side. It makes sense. Like you have no reason to forgive this person, but eventually the show was able to pull it up. So that'll be my shrinking pick. Before we wrap up, are there any other kind of extra picks you have that don't fall into the shows that we've covered extensively?
Oh, it's just like on my miscellaneous.
Yeah.
I'll just give a shout out. I don't think she'll have any trouble getting in, but you know, shout out to my girl Carrie Coon. I think if you have watched The Leftovers, you are a big fan of hers and you know that she should have an Emmy for her work on that show. It's some of the best acting work on TV. So she's like long overdue, and this finally feels like the role she could pull it off for. And obviously I'm mentioning The Leftovers and her whole career on TV, but I do genuinely think the performance is very good in The White Lotus. Like for me, the blonde trio was my favorite part of the White Lotus season. I think it was tapping into something really real and relatable. And honestly, it was the funniest plot line to me just because of how awkward and cringe it would get, which is what I gravitate towards. And just because of it was tapping into something that maybe, I mean, I've experienced. I don't know if everyone else has, but yeah, I like totally related to her character. And I think she has to have a lot of fun when her in like, I don't know, the penultimate episode or something where her character goes a little crazy and gets to let loose.
Yeah.
And then obviously her win is hinging on the monologue. And I think that was a tough monologue for any actor to pull off because that whole storyline rested on her delivering that with impact. Like otherwise that whole storyline falls apart if she does not sell that the way it needs to be sold. And she is just a master at doing an emotional monologue that somehow makes you cry. And honestly,
She's
that's the
great.
only part of this season that really made me feel anything. Like, if
Oh,
I'm thinking of,
okay. She
I
did.
mean, sorry, no, I like the show, but it's like if there's an emotional moment in the show, like that's
Hmm.
it. Like that is the
Yeah.
only one where I think back on and I was like, that like really made me feel something real. So I am rooting for her Emmy. I hope it
Oh,
happens.
wait. Why this is a drama, right? Yeah, the drama.
It's
I
drama.
completely forgot that there's already a winner for this category. I completely forgot that this category already has a guaranteed winner, and that's like Parker Posey. Like it's not.
Yeah, I think it's between her and Parker though.
I
I
I
think it's.
I think it's. I look. If
Do
I
you
was
think?
voting, it would be Carrie Coon. But I
Mhm.
think that that monologue came too late in the season for her. By like episode 4, everybody was like, well, "I'm voting for Parker Posey." Like,
Maybe.
yeah, and
We'll see.
this is not
We'll see.
my pick.
Yeah.
I would like the same way. I don't think no disrespect. I don't think Jennifer Coolidge should have 2 Emmys for White Lotus. I think that was Megan Fahey's Emmy for season 2. But like,
Mhm.
I tend to go for the more grounded, introspective performance than the cookie crazy performance. So, but I think the same people that voted Jennifer Coolidge twice will vote for Parker Posey again. It's not my pick, but
Yeah.
that'll be kind of
Yeah.
be what will happen.
I
Yeah,
do
probably.
think though, I do think that White Lotus benefits from the fact that I think everybody watched it week to week. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't think it's a case of something where something came out late, you have to binge it, you don't really have time, so maybe you do quit like 5 episodes in. I think in this case, probably everyone in the industry really did watch week to week, and so I think they did make it to the end, and that's kind of where Carrie Coon pulled ahead
Oh
in the
no,
odds.
I agree. I think they know
Um,
the monologue. I just think like they would have made their decision by then. Like
yeah.
Parker Posey was took off by like
Yeah,
episode
I
3.
think she's campaigning more too.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
maybe Carrie on the Gilded Age will like come back and then they're like whoa, that's so different from her White Lotus character. What range? Let's vote for her.
Oh, the Gilded Age. Just I can't wait to get back and watch people be bratty about like high society and new money versus old money. Oh, what a show! What a
It's the
show!
best. It's the best. It makes
um,
me deliriously happy, that show.
anything else in your miscellaneous?
I don't is there anything you want to cover in miscellaneous or
I think that's
anything?
kind of it for me. I mean, industry is really the only thing I'm really pulling for. I'm trying to think. I couldn't think of anything else that. I mean, there are too many. I can't pick for the studio. Like, I think I'll be happy with whichever guest performance gets in the studio. Like, I think Scorsese should get in just because that's just
Mhm.
Scorsese. But I also just think Dave Franco was the funniest guest performance. I think Zoe Kravitz deserves something. I would like Adam Scott to get it 2 nominations there, but I don't think that's
Yes.
possible. Yeah, I do think they would win. I think they will win for episode 2, directing. And then I don't know if they will win writing for episode 1. Again, I'm assuming these are the ones that they submitted. I haven't looked at the submissions. But I don't really have any
Yeah.
other picks. I'm sure once I get off this, I'm like, oh, I need to
Yeah.
talk about this. But
I'd
yeah,
probably shout out Chase Wonders from the studio because I think she's definitely the most prominent supporting female
she
actress
is.
on that show, and
Yeah.
she's very funny. She obviously gets that one episode that's focused on her and Ike,
Mm-hmm.
with like I forget what happens with the burrito and they're
Yeah.
stealing
You
the golf
forgot what
carts and
happened
things. Um,
when they're torpedoing each other's careers?
the burrito, oh
Yeah.
my gosh. But I think she's really good on the show, and she's like
Mm-hmm.
part of the glue that holds it together. And yet, I think she's probably gonna miss just because she's not a name. And if she
Yeah.
was a name, I think she would be the supporting actress that does make it in. So I just want to shout her out for
She's
being
neither a
really great on the
name.
show.
Yeah, she's neither a name nor a flashy character. So that never helps. Like, she doesn't do anything that like would generate memes, quote unquote. So like, yeah, that doesn't help. Yeah. I don't have anything else. I can't think. I do think this year would be quite split. I don't think we're gonna have the Bear run. I don't think we're gonna have a Shogun run. I think it's gonna be both categories are gonna be quite split. Interesting that we didn't have any limited series predictions or prayers in this thing.
I think we know Adolescence is just going to do really
Oh yeah,
well.
I still haven't
And
seen that.
it was very good. Like
Yeah.
it's definitely deserving. What's his name? Cooper, the one who plays the boy.
The boy. Oh,
The
you think
little
he's
boy.
gonna win? Isn't he like 14?
Yeah, I think he can win because
Oh
he was
wow.
like, uh, he was incredible. I
Mhm.
mean, just the fact, I think actors will like appreciate that. Just the fact that it's these, 1 hour, one shot episodes.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I think
Yeah, I
most
need
people are
to.
like, this is the best performance I've seen from someone that age. It's
That's
very like
fair.
well beyond his years. So
Yeah.
I think adolescents will do well.
To be fair,
I
the
did
reason I
like the
haven't.
yeah.
Oh, so
Sorry, go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead. You can talk about the penguin, and I'm right
Yes,
behind
no,
you. So go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say I did really like the penguin as well.
Hmm.
Kristen Milioti was like a favorite of mine for sure, and I hope she wins.
But yeah, penguin. They could get it. No, no. You said so. Maybe Colin Farrell doesn't win and gets nominated. Maybe Kristen Milioti wins. I'll be happy about that. That would be her win for insert show here
Mhm.
made for Modern Love or Black Mirror episode. Okay, I think that's a good place to stop. We've talked about TV
Yeah,
for almost 90 minutes. Thank you.
gone through all
Um,
our faves, all our faves.
yeah, all of hopefully Severance, Twitter, Hacks, Twitter, Industry, Twitter feels vindicated and represented.
Mhm.
Is that Industry Twitter? I'm not actually sure.
It's a small crew,
This
but
is yeah.
there was discussion when the Sunday episodes were airing.
There was discussion. Um, Thank you very much, Chris. You're welcome back anytime. You are gonna do something that I've seen. You're like really entering the nuts and bolts of like awards watching, which is insane. I do that for the Oscars. I can't do that twice a year. Good luck to you. I I support you from a distance. Please keep your sanity. Um, but yeah, hopefully some of these wishes will come true, and we'll see some of our faves at the Emmys night.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks for having me on.
right.
Yeah, I'm working on my predictions. I've had those filled out since they became available, and I gotta move them around now that some of the categories have become a
So
little
when
smaller.
when
So
do you release your predictions? Like the day before?
yeah, I move them around a lot, And
Who
then
are
there's
you?
some like,
Who are you doing this with? Is it just for you? Is it a competition?
well, like on like the Gold Derby site, you get bragging rights basically. You don't get any money, but if you make it into the top, you can feel good about yourself
Oh,
that
so
you
are you making
got
the
it
predictions
right.
public, or is it just on the Go Derby site?
It's on the Gold Derby site. Maybe I'll post to Twitter this year.
I think
We'll
you should
see.
post to Twitter. Post to Twitter. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for giving me your time. This was longer than well, it wasn't longer than expected, but it was longer than I probably led you to believe. Because I didn't want to scare you away. But thank you very much. And guys, thank you for listening. Like I said, we'll be off for a few weeks, but there's lots of stuff going on. And Is This In My Crew? We'll probably be covering some of the movies coming up. Fantastic Four, Superman. Yeah, leading into the fall when we'll be back. They've already announced new seasons of the dates for the new seasons of Gen V and Slow Horses. So we'll be back for those. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you, listeners. And join us next week. Or maybe next week, or when we come back in the fall, when we're joined by Oscar winner, BAFTA winner, director, actor extraordinaire, Daniel Kaluuya. Bye, guys.